And it's not just about my character, it's about their character. And who wants to run deep here?
The silence did not arrive gently. It slammed into the courtroom like a door kicked shut, abrupt and absolute, the kind of silence that makes people aware of their own breathing. 1 second earlier there had been movement everywhere, journalists shifting in their seats, a clerk whispering to the bailiff, the faint scrape of a chair leg against polished wood. Then Janelle Brown spoke, and everything else ceased to exist. "You didn't just take my money," she said, her voice steady enough to be frightening. "You took my time. You took my future. And you did it while calling it family." That was the moment the room changed. Not because of volume. Not because of theatrics. But because of certainty. This was not the sound of a woman asking to be heard. This was the sound of a woman who had already decided she would not be ignored again. Across the room, Kody Brown sat unnaturally still, arms folded tight across his chest, as if holding himself together by force alone. He had entered the courtroom that morning with the posture of a man accustomed to control, a man who believed, perhaps even now, that authority was something you carried with you, regardless of setting. But authority is a fragile thing. Strip away the cameras. Strip away the wives who once nodded along. Strip away the religious language that had shielded him for decades. What remained was just a man in a chair, being spoken about rather than listened to. Janelle stood at the plaintiff's table, shoulders squared, hands trembling only slightly. Not from fear. From restraint. This was a woman who had learned, over nearly 30 years, how to swallow anger in the name of peace. How to accept less and call it sacrifice. How to watch inequality unfold in front of her and convince herself that endurance was virtue. But endurance has a breaking point. And when it breaks, it does not shatter quietly. "This isn't about a marriage ending," she continued, her eyes fixed not on Kody but on the judge. "It's about a system that rewarded obedience and punished independence. It's about money being used as leverage. It's about promises made in private and erased in practice." The judge, a silver-haired woman with decades of courtroom experience etched into the lines of her face, did not interrupt. She did not lean back. She leaned forward. Because she recognized something important, this was not a dramatic outburst. This was an opening statement disguised as testimony. And it was precise. Janelle spoke of years measured not in anniversaries but in contributions. Of work that never appeared on contracts. Of income generated under the assumption of shared ownership. Of decisions made collectively in theory, but unilaterally in reality. She spoke of businesses she helped build, children she raised, hers and others, and financial choices she trusted would protect all of them equally. She spoke of believing, truly believing, that family money meant exactly that. Behind Kody, Robin Brown sat with her head bowed, oversized sunglasses still on despite the courtroom lighting. To some, it looked like grief. To others, avoidance. But to those who had watched this family for years, it looked like something else entirely, insulation. Robin had always been insulated. From scarcity. From instability. From the consequences the other wives quietly absorbed. "When I finally left," Janelle said, pausing just long enough for the weight of the words to settle, "I walked away with an RV and a lifetime of receipts that didn't belong to me." A murmur rippled through the gallery. Not outrage. Recognition. Because this wasn't new information, it was confirmation. For years, viewers had sensed the imbalance. The larger house. The easier access. The way financial discussions seemed to end whenever Robin's comfort was secured. But sensing something and hearing it laid bare under oath are very different experiences. Kody shifted in his seat. He leaned toward his attorney, whispering urgently, as if proximity to legal counsel might restore the authority that was draining from him by the second. But Janelle did not slow down. She did not look at him. She didn't need to. "I was told I chose this life," she said. "And I did. I chose commitment. I chose trust. What I didn't choose was to be financially erased. That sentence landed harder than any accusation of theft ever could. Because theft implies force. What Janelle was describing was consent weaponized against her. Trust turned into a liability. Loyalty turned into a loophole. Her lawyer, Lisa Carmichael, sat beside her, hands folded neatly, eyes sharp. This was not a case built on emotional collapse. It was built on documentation, on patterns, on timelines that told a story even when the people involved tried to rewrite it. And the judge knew it. "Miss Brown," the judge said calmly, "how long were you financially connected to Mr. Brown?" "Since 1993, Janelle replied without hesitation. Every major decision was presented as a family decision. Every investment was framed as collective. That was the understanding. That was the agreement." "Was that agreement ever formalized?" the judge asked. Janelle inhaled slowly. "No. Because we were told we didn't need to formalize trust." That was the first crack in the defense. Because trust without structure is not unity. It is exposure. Lisa stood then, moving with deliberate calm to the evidence table. A thick binder landed with a dull thud that echoed louder than expected. Exhibit tabs bristled from its edges like warning flags. When Miss Brown began asking questions, Lisa said, addressing the court, she was told she was being difficult. When she asked for transparency, she was told to be patient. When she asked for access, she was told it wasn't her place. The screen behind her flickered to life. Bank statements. Transfer records. Dates spanning years, not months. Amounts too consistent to be accidental. Funds moving out of shared accounts and into one name. Robbins. The judge's expression hardened. Were these transfers disclosed to Miss Brown? No, Lisa replied. They were not. Kody's jaw tightened. His earlier confidence, the kind that once filled confessionals and family meetings, had vanished. This was not a setting where charisma carried weight. This was a setting where paper mattered more than personality. And when Miss Brown asked why she could not access funds for housing, Lisa continued, she was told there was no money available. The screen changed again. A mortgage document appeared. Robin Brown's name. A purchase price that made several people in the gallery audibly inhale. The implication was unmistakable. Janelle had been told to wait. Robin had been told where to sign. At this point, the case stopped being about a single transfer or a single decision. It became about architecture. About how power was quietly engineered over time. About how legality was used selectively, not to protect the family, but to protect one relationship within it. When the judge called for a brief recess, the courtroom did not relax. It vibrated. Journalists leaned into one another, already drafting headlines that would stop just short of the truth. Not because the truth was unclear, but because it was explosive. Outside, cameras waited. Inside, Kody Brown sat motionless, staring at the table in front of him as if it might offer answers. For the first time, he was not managing the narrative. He was trapped inside it. And Janelle? She sat quietly, hands folded, eyes forward. Not triumphant. Not angry. Focused. Because this was only the beginning. She had waited decades to ask one question out loud. Where did the money go? And in the next phase of this trial, the court was about to find out exactly how far the answer reached. By the time the courtroom doors opened again, the atmosphere had shifted from tension to expectation. This was no longer a question of whether something improper had occurred. That question had already been answered in the collective mind of everyone present. The only uncertainty now was how deep it went, and how many people were willing to say it out loud. Janelle Brown returned to her seat with a composure that felt earned rather than performed. She no longer looked like someone fighting to be believed. She looked like someone waiting for confirmation. Across the aisle, Kody Brown avoided her gaze entirely. His attention flicked instead to the door at the back of the courtroom, as if he already knew who was about to walk through it. When Christine Brown appeared, the reaction was immediate and involuntary. Heads turned. Pens froze mid-sentence. Even the bailiff seemed to pause for a fraction of a second longer than necessary. Christine had not entered quietly, but neither had she entered seeking attention. Her presence carried weight because of what it represented: corroboration. For years, Christine had been framed as emotional, dramatic, reactive. The loud one. The one whose complaints could be dismissed as sensitivity. But the woman walking down the aisle that day did not fit that caricature. Her movements were deliberate. Her expression calm, almost resolute. This was not a woman reliving a grievance. This was a woman closing a chapter. She took the stand, raised her right hand, and swore to tell the truth. Kody's jaw tightened. He shifted in his seat, crossing and uncrossing his legs, a small physical tell that betrayed his growing unease. He had managed many family conversations over the years. This was not one of them. Mrs. Brown, Janelle's lawyer began, her tone neutral but purposeful. Can you describe your understanding of how finances worked within the Brown family during your marriage? Christine did not hesitate. We were told everything was shared, she said. That we were one family. One pot. And was that how it functioned in practice? Christine paused, not for effect, but to choose accuracy over comfort. No, she said finally. Not once Robin entered the family. The words landed with surgical precision. Not shouted. Not embellished. Just stated. A fact. Christine described a gradual shift, one that did not announce itself loudly. It began with small decisions. Who signed what? Who had access? Who was consulted? Over time, those small decisions hardened into a pattern. Robin's needs were addressed first. Her stability prioritized. Her comfort protected. The rest were asked to wait, to sacrifice, to understand. When we moved to Flagstaff, Christine continued, Robin had a house almost immediately. Janelle lived in an RV. I was renting. Mary was isolated. And every time money came up, the conversation ended the same way. Kody would say he was handling it. The judge's pen stopped moving. Lisa Carmichael stepped forward, displaying a document on the screen behind her. A mortgage agreement. 2 signatures. Kody Brown. Robin Brown. Were you aware of this at the time? Lisa asked. No, Christine replied. We were told there wasn't enough money for Janelle to buy a home. Then this happened. The courtroom murmured again, but this time the sound was sharper. Less surprise. More anger. Kody rose abruptly. That's not fair, he snapped, his voice cutting through the room. The judge's gavel came down hard. Mr. Brown, she said coldly, you will sit down or you will be removed. Christine did not look at him. Not once. She kept her gaze forward, her posture unchanged. I watched Janelle question herself for years, Christine went on. She thought she was being unreasonable. She thought she was bad with money. But she wasn't. She was being managed. That word hung in the air. Managed. Not led. Not protected. Controlled. Lisa pressed further. Did Janelle have access to bank accounts? Property deeds? Legal documentation? No, Christine said firmly. She wasn't on any of it. But she was working constantly. Filming. Selling. Organizing. Raising children. She contributed, but she wasn't protected. The judge leaned forward now, no longer merely listening but actively engaging. In your opinion, she asked, was this exclusion intentional? Yes, Christine replied without hesitation. And it was justified to us as being for the good of the family. Robin's shoulders shook. Whether from fear, guilt, or something else entirely, no one could say. But she remained silent. Silence had always been her safest position. Christine explained how legality had been used as both shield and sword. How the phrase "you're not legally married" was deployed whenever accountability loomed, but conveniently ignored whenever labor, loyalty, or income were required. He told us the law wouldn't protect us, Christine said. Now I realize he meant it wouldn't protect him. When she finished, the courtroom did not erupt. It didn't need to. The damage was done quietly, irrevocably. As Christine stepped down from the stand, she passed Janelle. They exchanged a brief nod. No tears. No embrace. Just recognition. Two women acknowledging a shared reality that had once been denied to them both. Outside the courtroom, headlines were already forming. But inside, something more significant was happening. The narrative Kody Brown had relied on for decades, that dissent was emotional, that complaints were personal, that authority was benevolent, was collapsing under the weight of consistency. Because Christine's testimony did not contradict Janelle's. It reinforced it. And now, with two voices aligned, the question shifted again. It was no longer whether Kody Brown had favored one wife financially. The question became whether he could explain it. When the judge called Kody Brown to the stand, he rose slowly, as if standing itself required negotiation. This was unfamiliar territory. He had spent years speaking without being challenged. Years framing himself as misunderstood rather than accountable. But here, every word would be measured against evidence, not emotion. He adjusted his collar. Looked briefly at Robin. Avoided Janelle entirely. I tried to do my best, he began, his voice softer than expected. I had a lot of responsibility. I had to make hard decisions. Lisa Carmichael stood almost immediately. Mr. Brown, she said calmly, let's talk about access. And with that, the illusion of leadership began to unravel. By the time the judge called the court back to order, the room no longer felt like a place where arguments were being made. It felt like a place where consequences were about to land. The kind that cannot be softened by explanations or delayed by charisma. The kind that rewrite how a story ends. Janelle Brown sat perfectly still, hands folded, spine straight. She had reached a point beyond nerves. The fight was over. All that remained was truth, laid bare, waiting to be acknowledged. Across from her, Kody Brown looked smaller than he had at any point during the proceedings. Not physically diminished, but stripped. The posture of command he once wore so easily had collapsed into something defensive, almost childlike. Authority, once questioned, rarely survives intact. The judge adjusted her glasses and opened the file before her. The sound of paper moving echoed louder than it should have. Every person in the gallery leaned forward, instinctively aware that whatever came next would not be forgotten. This court, the judge began, her voice steady and unembellished, has considered the testimony, documentation, and financial records presented in Brown versus Brown. She paused. Not for drama. For accuracy. This case is not about unconventional marriage structures, she continued. It is not about belief systems or personal values. It is about power. And it is about how that power was used. Kody swallowed. Robin reached for his hand, but he did not respond. For nearly 3 decades, the judge said, the plaintiff contributed financially, emotionally, and logistically to a family structure under the explicit understanding that assets were shared. The court finds that this understanding was encouraged, reinforced, and relied upon. Janelle closed her eyes briefly. Not in prayer. In recognition. The defendant, the judge went on, maintained exclusive control over financial access, selectively distributing information and resources based on personal loyalty rather than equitable contribution. The words were precise. Surgical. There was no room left for reinterpretation. This court further finds that significant sums of money were transferred from shared accounts into accounts legally inaccessible to the plaintiff, without disclosure, consent, or justification. A murmur rippled through the room, but the judge did not stop. These actions constitute economic coercion. The phrase landed like a verdict all on its own. Kody's face drained of color. For years, he had framed his decisions as leadership, as protection, as burden. But leadership does not require secrecy. Protection does not demand exclusion. And burden does not excuse harm. In light of these findings, the judge said, this court orders restitution in the amount of $415,000. The number hung in the air, heavy and undeniable. In addition, she continued, the plaintiff is awarded a 30% interest in the Coyote Pass property, reflecting her documented financial contribution. The gavel came down. The sound was not loud. It didn't need to be. It was final. Janelle's breath caught, not in shock, but in release. Tears welled, but they were not tears of grief. They were the kind that come when something long denied is finally acknowledged. Across the room, Kody did not move. He did not argue. He did not speak. For the first time in his adult life, there was nothing left to say. Robin clutched his hand now, whispering something through tears. But even that could not pull him back into himself. The man who once controlled conversations, finances, and futures sat frozen, confronted with the reality that power does not survive scrutiny. Janelle stood slowly. Christine moved toward her from the gallery, wrapping her in a quiet embrace. There was no celebration. No triumph. Just solidarity. Before leaving, Janelle turned back toward Kody. I stayed silent for years to protect the idea of family, she said calmly. Even when it cost me everything. I won't do that anymore. Kody lipped up then, finally meeting her eyes. He said nothing. This is my lane now, Janelle continued. And I walk it without fear. Outside the courtroom, cameras surged forward, questions flying. Was this about money? About revenge? About fame? Janelle smiled softly, not at the reporters, but at the freedom in her own voice. This was about recognition, she said. And about showing my daughters that silence is not strength. Behind her, the courtroom emptied. Kody Brown remained seated, alone, the echo of the gavel still ringing in his ears. The story he had told for decades had ended. And the one he could no longer control had just begun.